Imagine walking through the streets of ancient Rome, listening to wise men speak about suffering and serenity, while in Judea, a spiritual leader talks about the kingdom of heaven and inner peace. These scenes show that our reality is shaped by our perception. There are similarities between Stoic discourse and the teachings of Jesus. Seneca said, "Why do you point out the wounds of others when you are full of scars?" And Jesus said, "Why do you see the speck in your brother's eye and not notice the beam in your own?" Although Stoic figures cannot be equated with Jesus Christ, and that is certainly not the intention here, it is fascinating how both continue to inspire and guide us today. We will explore the similarities between Stoicism and Christianity, questioning and reflecting. The teachings of Stoicism and Christianity are revealing, showing that our internal perceptions can transform our external experience. Let's begin. Jesus and Stoicism share common ground. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus warns against greed, teaching that true treasure lies in the spirit, not in chests of gold. He encourages his followers to focus on what is eternal and to master their reactions to life's storms, echoing Stoic principles of calm and self-discipline. Jesus and the Stoics see virtue as the compass for a fulfilling life. The Stoics believe that living in harmony with reason and nature is the path to happiness. Jesus embodies this idea on the cross, where even in pain, he remains serene and compassionate. Both teach that although we cannot control the winds, we can adjust our sails. This pursuit of inner mastery and virtue unites their messages about the purpose of life. The teachings of Jesus and the Stoics illuminate the path toward a meaningful existence, transcending cultures and eras. Stoic philosophy and the teachings of Jesus converge on the importance of self-control and virtue. Both emphasize the need to cultivate inner peace in the face of external adversity. This approach offers a valuable perspective on how to face life's challenges with balance and wisdom. Both Jesus and the Stoics teach the importance of detaching from material possessions and focusing on deeper values. They argue that true wealth lies in character and wisdom, not in possessions. By exploring the similarities between the teachings of Jesus and Stoicism, we can gain valuable insights into how to live with purpose and integrity. Imagine an unusual scene: Jesus Christ and Marcus Aurelius sitting in a modern cafe, discussing our relationship with the material world. Jesus, in his simple tunic, orders only a glass of water. Marcus Aurelius, in his imperial toga, hesitates before the elaborate menu. "You know, Marcus," says Jesus, moving his glass, "people today seem more concerned with the latest smartphone model than with their neighbor." Marcus Aurelius laughs. In Rome, it was the same with silk togas. The more elaborate, the more status. "Exactly," agrees Jesus. "It's as if people build sandcastles and think they will last forever." "Well said," replies the emperor. "I used to say that our possessions are like leaves in the wind, here today, gone tomorrow." Jesus nods. "That's why I always said, do not store up treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy." "Interesting," reflects Marcus Aurelius. "I taught something similar. Very little is needed for a happy life." They observe the people around them, absorbed in their electronic devices. "Look," says Jesus, "it's not that material things are bad in themselves. The problem is when they possess us instead of us possessing them." "I completely agree," responds Marcus Aurelius. "True wealth lies in character, not in the chest." As they part ways, Both reflect on how their ancient messages still resonate today in a world obsessed with consumption. Their words remind us that true happiness does not come from what we have, but from who we are and how we live. Both leaders, from their different contexts, converge on a common understanding. Material possessions are not the problem. The challenge lies in the attachment we give them, in how we allow them to define our value and sense of purpose. As this imaginary conversation fades into the night, a profound question arises for all of us. What value do we give to material things in our lives? Do they define us, or are they simply tools we use to contribute to our well-being and that of those around us? However, we cannot ignore the fundamental differences in their visions and essential practices. Jesus, with his unconditional love for others and his call to service, and Epictetus, with his emphasis on virtue and the well-being of the community, present two complementary perspectives. But what would happen if they shared a moment together? Now imagine Jesus and Epictetus in a modern cafe, discussing human nature and the path to personal fulfillment. Jesus stirs his coffee, while Epictetus tastes an elaborate latte. "You know, Epictetus," says Jesus, "many people today are like that latte of yours, full of layers and decorations, but without real substance." Epictetus laughs. "Good analogy. I would say life is like making coffee. What matters is not the presentation, but the process and the flavor you extract." "Interesting," replies Jesus. "For me, the true essence lies deeper than the flavor. It's like the water I use to make my coffee. Simple, but essential for life." "Fascinating perspective," reflects Epictetus. "In my teachings, I speak about accepting what we cannot change, like the quality of the beans, and focusing on what we can control, like the brewing method." Jesus nods. "It's like cultivating a relationship with God. We cannot control His will, but we can choose how we respond to it." "I see common points in our philosophies," observes Epictetus. "We both teach the importance of acceptance and inner peace." "Yes, but there are differences," replies Jesus. "While you focus on reason, I emphasize love and faith. Faith is the certainty of what we hope for and the evidence of what we do not see." Hebrews 11:1. Epictetus reflects, "For me, reason is the path to freedom and virtue. And for me," says Jesus, "you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Gospel of John. Looking around, they see people absorbed in their smartphones, ignoring the conversations around them. "Look," says Jesus, "many here are connected to the world, but disconnected from themselves and from others." Epictetus nods. "As I used to say, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." As they say goodbye, Jesus and Epictetus leave behind a timeless lesson. Whether in Stoic philosophy or Christian teachings, the path to fulfillment lies in cultivating inner peace, detachment, and love for others. True wisdom, like good coffee, requires time, patience, and attention to what truly matters. In this imaginary dialogue, we see how two seemingly different traditions can offer complementary perspectives on the human condition. While Epictetus's Stoicism emphasizes reason and acceptance, Jesus' teachings highlight love and faith. Both, however, invite us to a life of reflection, integrity, and the pursuit of a greater purpose. This conversation reminds us that despite differences in beliefs and philosophies, there is always room for dialogue and mutual learning. In an increasingly polarized world, perhaps we need this ability to find common ground more than ever, even amid our differences. Both recognize that although they share the desire to guide humanity toward inner peace and virtue, their paths diverge fundamentally in how they perceive and relate to the world. These differences lead us to consider the theological roots of Christianity and the Stoic worldview. While Christianity holds a theocentric vision of the universe, Stoicism leans toward a perspective based on nature and reason. Both philosophies have their merits and offer different lenses through which to interpret and experience the world. With this structure in mind, it is essential to delve deeper into these differences and consider how these perspectives can enrich one another. In the next segment, we will explore Christian theology and the Stoic worldview, seeking a balance between faith and reason. Stoicism and Christianity, two seemingly distinct philosophies, share more similarities than one might imagine at first glance. Both offer paths toward a reflective and disciplined life, though with different approaches. The Stoics believe in a universal reason that governs the world, the Logos, present in all existence. For them, living in harmony with nature and its laws is the path to wisdom. This vision, though different from Christianity, invites us to reflect on integrity and the pursuit of the greater good. Christianity emphasizes the relationship with God and grace, while Stoicism highlights self-discipline. But is it possible to combine these two visions? We can see Jesus as a Messiah with Stoic traits. Scholars like Kevin Rowe, a New Testament specialist, note points of convergence between the two philosophies. Important figures of early Christianity, such as Tertullian and Augustine, recognized the influence of Stoic thought. Other academics, such as Josephson Dodson and Kevin Voss, argue that Stoicism can enrich Christian devotion. Voss, for example, found similarities between the teachings of Epictetus and modern Christian concepts of family and ethics. It is not about labeling Stoics as Christians, but about recognizing that their perspectives can complement each other. In both Stoic and Christian texts, we find lessons about life and ethics. Like a tree growing toward the sun in search of light and nutrients, we can nourish our spirituality with ideas from both traditions. Christianity can be the strong trunk, while Stoicism offers additional branches of practical wisdom. This fusion of ideas does not dilute the essence of Christianity. Rather, it can enrich it. Just as a river gains strength and breadth when joined by other streams, our spiritual understanding can expand by incorporating elements of Stoic thought. By exploring these connections, we can discover new ways to live our faith, combining the grace and love taught by Jesus with the discipline and reflection proposed by the Stoics. It is an invitation to a deeper and broader spiritual journey, where different currents of thought converge to form a richer understanding of life and our place in the world. Stoicism and Christianity, though different in their origins, share remarkable perspectives. Let's review some quotes that illustrate these similarities. 1. Contentment. I have learned to be content in any situation. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in every circumstance. Philippians 4:11. It is not the man who has little, but the man who desires more, who is poor. Seneca. 2. On revenge. Do not take revenge, beloved, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, "Vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord." Romans 12:19. The best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Marcus Aurelius. 3. The golden rule. So in everything do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. Matthew 7:12. What you do not want done to you, do not do to others. Epictetus. 4. On mortality. Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Psalm 90:12. You are a little soul carrying a corpse. Epictetus. 5. On anxiety and worry. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Philippians 4:6. The man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than necessary. Seneca. 6. On love. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. 1 Corinthians 13:4. Love mankind. Follow God. Marcus Aurelius. 7. On discipline. Whoever spares the rod hates their child, but the one who loves their child is careful to discipline them. Proverbs 13:24. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. 8. On anger. Get rid of all malice. Ephesians 4:31. It is better to heal than to avenge an injury. Seneca. 9. On tranquility. The peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:7. It is not that we have little time, but that we waste much of it. Seneca. 10. On role models. Imitate me as I imitate Christ. 1 Corinthians 11:1. Do not talk about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. 11. On loving enemies. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Matthew 5:44. The best way to avenge an enemy is not to become like him. Marcus Aurelius. 12. On wisdom. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Proverbs 9:10. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. 13. On contentment. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. Philippians. It is attitude, not circumstances, that must be evaluated. We must investigate whether the rich man can be content if he falls into poverty, and whether the poor man can be content if he rises to wealth. Seneca. 14. On revenge. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other also. Jesus. Only a small-minded man seeks revenge. Seneca. 15. On role models. Be imitators of God as beloved children, and walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. Ephesians 5:1. Choose someone whose way of life, words, and even their face, reflecting the disposition behind it all, has earned your approval. You should always keep this person before you as your guardian or model. Seneca. 16. On loving enemies. If your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head. Romans 12:20. Kindness is invincible, as long as it is genuine, not superficial. What could the malice of an enemy do to you if you continue showing kindness? And if there is an opportunity, correct his errors, but discreetly, not in public. It is your responsibility to form your own good character, but no one can form the character of another person. Marcus Aurelius. Jesus Christ and the Stoic philosophers, though separated by centuries and cultures, share fundamental ideas about life and morality. While Christianity centers on divine love, faith, and the relationship with God, Stoicism offers practical methods for living in harmony with nature and finding peace in difficult times. Imagine Jesus and Marcus Aurelius sitting together, discussing human nature and the purpose of life. Surprisingly, they might agree on many points. Both emphasize the importance of virtue, self-discipline, and the pursuit of truth. Jesus taught about loving one's neighbor and the importance of forgiveness. The Stoics, meanwhile, spoke about accepting what we cannot change and focusing on what is within our control. These lessons, seemingly different, converge toward the same goal: living an ethical and meaningful life. The Gospel of John mentions that the truth will set you free. This search for truth and inner freedom is a recurring theme in both the teachings of Jesus and Stoic writings. Both invite us to look beyond appearances and find deeper wisdom. Consider how these philosophies can apply to your life. When we face challenges, we can ask ourselves, how would Jesus respond to this? Or what would a Stoic do in this situation? Often, the answers will be surprisingly similar. Regardless of your personal beliefs, there is value in exploring these ideas. They offer tools to face the complexities of modern life, promoting compassion, resilience, and self-knowledge. At the end of this reflection, I invite you to consider how these principles can enrich your personal journey. We can incorporate the wisdom of Jesus and the Stoics into our daily lives. Remember, the search for a life of purpose and integrity is universal. Whether through the teachings of Jesus, Stoic reflections, or your own pursuit of self-knowledge, there is always something valuable to learn. Thank you for your attention, and I encourage you to continue exploring these fascinating topics. If this episode resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to our channel and give it a like. Your participation enriches our community and helps us grow together on this journey of knowledge and personal development. If you made it this far, leave the word miracle in the comments.